Hey guys, how you doing? Today we're going to talk about how to install openpilot version 8 with Shane Smiskol Stock Editions branch version 0.6.5. Now, what is Stock Editions? So Stock Editions is a customizable feature set which takes the base or the stock openpilot and it adds customizable features. So it gives you a menu, and I'll just read some of this if you can't see it. Okay, this is off of the GitHub, and I'll provide all the links to the description of this video. So it gives customizable features such as if you're using a pedal system on your car because you don't have built-in or stock provided stop and go capability from the manufacturer and model of your car. It gives you customizable and dynamic predefined profiles for longitudinal lead car following. It gives you camera offset settings that are customizable, so you can tweak that. Say, for example, if your car is hugging a particular lane, you can offset it so it's more towards the center or a little bit farther over to where you're comfortable and used to driving. And it's got a few other options, like it allows for if you have a ZSS sensor in your car, to allow openpilot AI to be able to control your car around curves and centering and with ping-ponging within the lane, if your car's compatible with that. And it's got some other customizable features. I'm not going to go over all the features that it has. Particularly what I'm using this for, okay, is because, as you can see, my car is a right-hand drive vehicle. Now, I suspect that because this is an American product and its largest user base is American cars, that it might be a little bit biased for safety reasons and pre-programmed to have the a larger learning base for the AI to have the vehicles a little bit more towards the left. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I just suspect that could be the case. But I've also seen articles where, and YouTube videos that talk about Toyotas particularly like to hug to the left. And that's both in Japanese-made Toyotas and American-made Toyotas. Now, I'm driving a brand new RAV4. I just bought it this year. So would be considered a 2021 model year in America. In Japan, they just go by the manufactured year. So it's a 2020 RAV4, top of the line that they offer here in Japan. So it's got all of your TSS 2.0 features. It's got advanced cruise control. It's got lane keep assist, or lane tracing assist as it's called for the Toyota. By itself, it's not a bad system. The stock system, it's pretty cool. I was pretty excited, and it was really fun when I first got it and was playing around with it on the expressway, but it's not really that usable. You can't keep your hands off the steering wheel for more than 30 seconds before it tells you you have to touch the steering wheel. So the stock system is an AI level 1 system, so there has to be constant user intervention to meet that specification. So openpilot is an upgrade in the sense that it's an AI level 2 system, so it doesn't require necessarily user intervention. It requires constant user attention. And the way Comma has provided a solution to that is that they use the camera on their cell phone to monitor the driver, and they also have infrared lights on the phone system that they use, so you can do nighttime driving monitoring from the system as well. If you look away, it'll start a countdown timer, and it will alarm pretty loudly if you look away too long to tell you to take control of the car. And that's happened to me a couple times. I'm using the system particularly to be able to more finely set the position of where this car drives on the road. I recently took this car to a long road trip in Japan, using the openpilot system, using stock openpilot version 0.8.2. If you want to see that video, there's a link to it at the end of this video and in the description. For the most part, it handled really well. There were only two main areas of improvement that I have for the openpilot system for driving conditions here in Japan, and that's one, the left lane hugging. It wasn't dangerous, but there were a couple times where I felt uncomfortable driving because I'm used to driving a little bit more to the right in the lane, especially in the fast lane on the expressway, and especially when overtaking larger vehicles like trucks, because they take up most of their lane in Japan. The other area of improvement is the longitudinal tracking for the stock autopilot system allows way too much lead time between the lead vehicle and this vehicle. And what that does is it allows trucks driving in Japan to cut in, and they do all the time. So you have to follow pretty closely between you and the lead vehicle if you're manually driving in order to prevent the trucks from coming in and stopping speed lane traffic. So if you allow too much room, like openpilot does, you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4 trucks continuously coming in between you and the original lead car, and what your car will do is it'll open up the original distance. So it could provide for an unsafe condition because it's slowing down speed lane traffic, but also if you have people following pretty closely behind you, which they do quite often in Japan, they tend to get upset because now you're slowing down. And that's why I wanted to check out a branch like this so that I could customize those features. So prerequisites. Obviously you need a functional openpilot system. Now I'm using the Combo 2 system. There are EOS or Panda customizable hardware options that people have used in the past. I just bought the Combo 2, so that's what I'm using. The other thing you need is you need to have SSH already established with your Combo. Now you may or may not have needed SSH in the past. SSH is Secure Shell. It's a Unix or Linux terminal program which allows you to connect securely to the Linux operating system and the Android operating system on the phone. There is, in the wiki, there's instructions on how to follow that. So if you go to openpilot, the link is in the description, and then go to their wiki on GitHub. It does have SSH instructions. So you need to have SSH established so that you can connect to your comma and flash it and check out new software from GitHub for this particular branch. So it's a pretty straightforward process. The only additional thing that I would say as far as what you need, okay, is that if you have a unique fingerprint that's not included in the master CI branch of the version that we're currently using for this branch, which is version openpilot version 0.8. Okay, if you did not have a fingerprint that was updated in that version, then you're going to have to re-fingerprint your car. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky process because you can't just copy your old openpilot values.py file, which holds your fingerprint, and copy it over to the stock editions branch and overwrite the values.py in there. You'll actually have to go in there and modify the firmware and the fingerprint like you would manually do anyway. So there's not an easy workaround for it. You just have to go in there and copy and paste or SCP those files so that you can edit them and then re-upload them if you're having issues with something like VI. But that's a little bit outside the scope of this. There are wikis on how to fingerprint on the openpilot GitHub page. So if you're if that's an issue for you where you need to re-fingerprint your car, definitely check that out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up SSH. Now I'm using PuTTY, and I've created a -2 profile, so it has my settings that I can just click on this and it uses my same RSA key over and over, and it gets me into the default directory of /data/openpilot. Okay, and so you can do everything you need to from here. You're going to change one up directory, so you can do this with either cd ... or you can do a cd/data. Whichever you do is up to you. Okay, so now you can see I'm in the data directory. Okay, and you can just copy and paste from here if you want to as well. So for example, okay, just going to copy and paste that, and copy that, and if you right click into the terminal, it's going to paste, and it's going to take you to the data directory like we just did. Okay, now this is going to have you do move openpilot to openpilot old. You don't need to copy, if you're going to copy and paste, you don't need to copy anything after the hashtag. It's not going to hurt it if you do, but those are just comment lines and it's going to ignore it. So let me copy that, the Control-C, and enter. Okay, so now if I do an ls, okay, to list the directory, I'm going to see that I now have an openpilot.old directory right here, and I don't have openpilot old or standard openpilot anymore. So that is now been moved to openpilot.old. Now you can see I've done this a couple times. So I have my openpilot.back. That is a backup of my stock 0.8.2 openpilot build. So if I wanted to, I could revert very easily by just changing the name of whichever version I want back to openpilot and reboot the system, and as long as that's the only openpilot directory, it'll load off of that. Okay, now I'm going to copy both of these lines. You can do them independently if you want, but I'm just going to copy, and you can copy all of them at the same time if you want, and do it all. You can even script it out into a file if you want to do it, if you do this many times. So I'm going to git clone B stock additions and reboot. I've copied it, Control-C, and now I'm pasting it, and you can see it's receiving objects. Now this is a relatively quick process for this branch. Shane Smiskol's done a really good job of keeping it really small so it does the initial pull very quickly. Standard openpilot takes 10 to 15 minutes, maybe longer depending on your bandwidth. I have a 1 gigabit fiber connection to my house, so it's pretty fast. And then it's going to come up with reboot because we already copied and pasted that. I'm going to hit enter. Now the openpilot is rebooting. One other thing I forgot to mention, I do recommend that before you reboot to turn off your car. I'm not going to because it's cold and I like my heated seat, so I'm being lazy. But depending on a lot of these branches, your comma sits in between your sensors and the OBD2 port on the computer. So your car might throw some dash errors, and it's anytime your car throws a dash error, if you have a assist system on your car, it may automatically send those errors to the assist system, and they might contact you or the dealer saying, hey, this car is having issues. So it might be a little bit inconvenient. So I would just turn it off and then do the reboot just in case. So mine comes up as dash cam mode car unrecognized because my fingerprint. So if that comes up, and that can be caused by two issues. It's either a bad USB cable or a fingerprint issue. Obviously it was working before and I didn't change anything. I didn't touch any of my hardware and cabling. So that's due to my fingerprint. So at this point, you would go ahead and modify the values.py file for your make of your brand of car. And that's within the fingerprint wiki on how to do that. So in preparation, I would also add maybe if you've had to do a custom fingerprint for your vehicle, go ahead and back up the values.py for the brand of where you normally store your values.py file within the the destination folder that's outlined in the fingerprinting wiki, and just have a backup of that just in case for the particular branch that you're using. Again, if you just copy over a fingerprint from the stock openpilot system, if you copy the values.py over from the stock openpilot system onto a different branch, it may or may not work. This case, I tried doing that. It didn't work for me. Now you can see it's recognizing my car, so I'm good to go. All right. So as you can see, you have some different options. Now, if you want to go into the different options of what's available, I can do that in a different video. But this video was focusing on just the installation and preparing for that. The one thing I would say, just to be safe, on the safe side of things, if you do go through and install the stock system, it does give you options to a menu for customizable features. As you're testing your vehicle, make sure you have a good test bed, an area where you can test safely, like a road where there's not going to be a lot of foot traffic or car traffic, places where you're going to be able to pull over just in case your system gets alarmed out. It will alarm the stock. It will alarm out your stock system, potentially if you select the wrong settings. Also, openpilot may error out. You might get an alarm saying loss of control or something similar. So you want to just take it slow. I recommend making small changes one at a time and then doing the test for it. It might take a little bit longer to do that, and it's a little bit more tedious, but it's safer. And I think in the long run, you'll have a better result. And if you can make the modifications that you want and get your car sitting and behaving the way you want to, I think that the benefit is definitely there if you take it slowly. So that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section, and